Following is a presentation on the Iroquois Theater fire, December 30th, 1903 in Chicago, Illinois. Presented by Cody Crosway, Nick Vagar, Samantha Dickinson, Camden Daly, and Daniel Hubeloff. The Iroquois Theater was built and designed in 1903 by a man named Benjamin Marshall. The theater was highly luxurious, had been deemed fireproof upon its opening in 1903. Both Chicago's building commissioner and fire inspector looked over the theater in November 1903 and declared that it was fireproof beyond all doubt, mainly because it had 30 exits and 27 of which were double doors. A man named William Clendenin, who was the editor of Fireproof magazine, also inspected the Iroquois. He, on the contrary, wrote a scathing editorial about its fire dangers. He pointed out the fact that the interior had a great deal of wood trimming. Also, it had no fire alarm and a lack of sprinkler system over the stage. During the holiday period, the Iroquois Theater was presenting a play called Mr. Bluebird. It was to a standing room only crowd of 1,900 people. Another 400 were performers and stagehands who were crowded into the basement dressing rooms and the backstage areas. During the second act, a calcium-marked floodlight sparked and ignited a fire in the overhead curtain scenery above the stage. Attempts to extinguish the fire with 2 kill-fire dry powder extinguishers was unsuccessful. The house firemen then called for the asbestos curtain to be lowered to protect the audience from smoke and flames. Unfortunately, the curtain snagged on one end on a galvanized iron bar that held a row of incandescent lights. The curtain became lopsided as the other end got stuck 2/3 of the way down. This was about 10 feet above the stage floor. The curtain provided limited protection for the audience due to the malfunction and the delay in lowering it during the fire. An actor getting ready for his next scene attempted to calm the increasingly agitated audience. He ordered the orchestra to continue playing as stagehands made futile attempts to lower the supposedly flame-retardant curtain. There were some fire protection measures in place at the time, but mainly they were for show and to pass a cursory inspection so that the theater could open. Some of these implements included the rooftop smoke vents, which at the time were unfinished and therefore were bolted shut. Standpipes had been installed during construction but had no readily available water supply. There were no hoses inside the building or exterior fire department connections. The stage was equipped with a fire curtain, though it was composed of a paper-like material instead of asbestos, which is more expensive. This is the flame-retardant material which very well could have stopped the fire had there been one installed at the time. Also, there were no lighted exit signs anywhere in the building. Some of the other main contributions to the high death toll were a lack of the sprinkler system, which was required by the city ordinance at the time, the skylights, which were clamped shut due to the unfinished state of its construction. There were uncommon styles of locks inside the building called bascule locks, which were widely used in Europe but not familiar with many people here in the U.S. Disguised exits were covered with drapery for a more luxurious look inside of the theater, but were difficult to find these exits in the darkness of the fire. Fire escapes had become blocked when doors opened on the lower levels. There was also no fire alarm box on site, which was also a city ordinance. Employees of the theater had to run to the nearest firehouse to notify the fire companies of the incident, resulting in a really delayed response time. Another large contributor to the high death toll was the ushers who were manning the doors fled the scene immediately and did not unlock many of the 27 emergency doors. The doors were locked during the show to prevent those with standing tickets from exiting the lower area to make their way to the balcony seating. Some of the panicked audience members scrambled to the backstage door. When this door was opened, the introduction of oxygen caused a backdraft, which was said to have produced enough positive pressure inside the building to blow open at least one of the emergency exits, which aided in some evacuation, but also instantly caused many more casualties. Most of the 591 people who died were seated in the balconies, where there were no fire escapes or ladders. some people choosing to jump, causing the bodies to be piled nearly 6 deep near the narrow balcony exits. In fact, some of the people who were knocked down by people jumping from the balconies had survived, who were eventually pulled out from underneath other burn victims. Chicago's building commissioner was later charged and convicted of a misfeasance. Chicago's mayor was also indicted, though his charges didn't stick. The theater owner was convicted of manslaughter due to the poor safety provisions, but the conviction was later appealed and reversed. The only person to serve any jail time in relation to this disaster was a nearby saloon owner who had been robbing some of the bodies of the victims while his establishment was serving as a makeshift morgue following the fire. Post-fire, widespread implementation and mass manufacturing of panic bars, which is now a requirement in all places with high occupancy spaces. This invention prevents people from getting crushed or smashed against doors in case of an emergency. A second requirement was that asbestos fire curtains be lowered after performances at stages to separate the crowd from the stage. We now have signs and exit lighting as well as occupancy limits. It is also a requirement that power for the exit illumination be independent of that of the building to provide fail-safe indications in the event of building power outage. Our fire detection and prevention technologies today save countless lives and billions of dollars in property every year. Though what we use today is not perfect, it is a far cry from the implements in place during the Iroquois Theater fire of 1903. NFPA and Underwriters Laboratories, among others, continue to make strides in this important area of study to work towards providing safer structures for all to live and work in every day around the world. Thank you for watching.